start the recording. And okay, so same thing that we usually do. Okay, not web.whatsapp, start.spring.io. So Java Maven, that's what we were using. Spring is cool. Today we will see the MVC. So MVC Spring, MVC internals, little bit internals, or the use cases, and app. Okay, instead of app, if we can say controller. Okay, MVC again, but MVC is here. MVC use cases. So I can remove this from here and put it here. Okay, cool. jar 17, and if I'm using MVC, then I have to use MVC here as well. Okay, Lombok, we can take the Lombok, and we can take okay, it's enough for now. A Spring Web along with Lombok. All right, cool. So we can take this. We can generate it. All right, we have to open the zip. Okay, and we can just simply copy it and downloads document. Okay, and SpringBoot 2000. Okay, this is April, March. Okay, this is core Java. Okay, SpringBoot October. Cool. Over here, I'm pasting it here. Use cases. So POM file. Okay. Okay, my bad. I need to open it. Okay, I can directly open it from here as well. Alright, great. So now I just have to refresh it. This is the Maven command to build the project. Build successful. So this thing we have already done in the previous sessions, right? If I run this, there will be a Tomcat up and running at 800 port, right? Because it's a common port. So let's change the port number first, and 844, right? Now our port number will become 844, right? We have done this thing earlier as well. Now we are already aware of what is SpringBoot application and all those things. So simply we are going to make the packaging. So I will make the controllers as what we are going to see today, and application I'm going to put it inside here. And we already know that we require at the rate. Okay, just give me 1 second. Recording start. Okay, so where were we? Okay, here. All right, cool. So over here we have to write component scan, and you just need to make sure that we are scanning this and this. All right, so I can add the controller as well. Controllers, cool. So inside controller, now see what usually happens. Okay, all right. Okay, we can take the atom also. It's taking a lot of time. Okay, so whenever I have a server and I need to make sure that I can make connection to the server, we have last time we have made, what I'm remembering is we made last time something Spring Core. Okay, I guess on Spring. Okay, but it's not opened. Okay, project Spring Core, new window. Okay, all right. Okay, Okay, notes. Okay, cool. We have this thing already in place. All right. So this thing we have seen earlier also, that our controller. Okay, this is the normal flow. Okay, okay, yes, this is the thing, right? This is the thing. We can just copy it and take it into our controller. Just give me one more minute. Okay, so again, without any ado. Okay, so in the controllers, coming back to the controller, so we can have the grid controller, right? Grid controller, we can have the grid controller, health controller, grid controller, we can have all those things. So over here, okay, my bad. Okay, bye. See, when a user is there, right, it can be a browser, it can be a server, right? Because this is the server that I'm going to write the code for. So this curve server does not care, right, whether this is talking with a browser or a server, right? So we have to write a code in such a way that this server will have communication with the user, and user can be from browser or a server as well. Now, this thing we have already seen in the last session, that we have to make sure that a TCP handshake requires, right? This all things happens under the hood, right? In any language possible, no one is responsible to write code for the TCP handshake. Whatever framework we are using, they are responsible to make sure that this thing happens under the hood. So whenever my server or my browser connects to a server, TCP connection gets created for the first time. When the handshake gets completed, then the server and the browser or the another server is linked. Then they can communicate with each other for a while until my REST API call gets completed. Till then, the channel will be open for the communication. And then the server, okay, but the thing is, this thing we will do just to make sure that, okay, my machine is connected. Once my machine is connected, then I have to talk to my controller, right? Because inside the controller, what will happen, inside the controller there will be a method, right? And I need to make sure that this method returns something, right? Okay, we can create a health controller, HELTH controller. All right, so over here, string, I can run get health status, and I can return simple string up and running. All right. So once I'm done with all the handshaking, and I'm able to establish connection between the hardwares of the browser and the server, or between the servers, then I need to make sure, because I have written the microservice into Java, then I need to make sure that a Java method needs to be executed, right? Because in Java there is no other class element which we can use to write the business logic other than a method, right? So we have to map a method, right? We have over here, I have a method. I want this method to get executed when some URL is hit, right? When someone tries to access a particular URL or the resource. So how can I do that? So this thing, I can write the entire code from the scratch as well, but it's going to take a lot of time, right? So the controller is responsible for one of the things that we do in URL mapping. And now I can simply write that, okay, whenever I write controller over here, right? And right now I'm writing REST controller. Whenever I write REST controller at top of the class, then it gets the responsibility to create the mapping. All right. So if no class having the REST controller, then it cannot be used to create a mapping. First item. Then whenever I'm going to create a map, the REST service communicate over the HTTP protocol, right? Then HTTP protocols have 7 verbs, right? Get, put, post, delete. Not going to dive deep into that. That's not a part of our course. So all those HTTP verbs need to be taken care of, right, by this REST controller. If we are mapping it, then we need to make sure with which particular HTTP verb we are mapping our particular method as well. First thing is the mapping, right? So which mapping we are doing? We are doing the request mapping, right? So we are, because this is a request, right? Okay, wait. So So the okay, the URL that I hit, it's called request, right? So the parameter, the annotation name is also the request mapping, and inside it I can write this thing will be the path param, right? But it's fixed, it's not a variable that will be sent, it's fixed. And over here also, now at the method level, right, over here I cannot write which HTTP verbs needs to be required, right? Because I just make sure that okay, if health is written in the URL, then this controller needs to gain the control, and inside this now we need to find which method needs to be executed, right? And a method will execute, so HTTP verbs needs to be associated with that also. So get mapping for post, there are post mapping. I am assuming that you already know about these things, right? And for get mapping, let's suppose we are using for the get mapping, I can leave it as it is as well, and I can write inside this status as well. So what usually happens when I do this, and if I rerun the, okay, my bad, if I rerun the controller and I try, okay, 444, and I try to hit the API localhost 8444 and then health and then status, then up and running is there, right? So why up and running? Because I have mapped the requests with the health. So whenever, okay, the first thing is request control, right? So this class will work as a configuration file for a request mapping. So I map the URL right there, health and status, right? With health, I make sure if health is found, then I have to come to this particular class, because at the class level I have made sure that request mapping is there for health. And by the second item, this thing, I got my I got my method to execute, right? This is the first one thing. Any doubt till here? I'm assuming everyone is aware of what we have covered till now, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So see what, now we see that okay, it was responsible for the URL mapping, right? So we have seen that it has mapped a URL with a particular class and a method. We used to do the same thing with the servlets in the XML file. We used to write the class file path name and then the method that needs to be executed. So all those things we used to write in the XML, and that XML usually becomes way too large to manage. Then we had to break the XML into multiple formats. But right now it's way too easy just to write annotation and that's it. So earlier we used to write it in these things in the XML format in the servlets. Also the thing is, whenever we are writing this, eventually the code is converted into servlet, because the Tomcat is servlet container. So you cannot run anything other than servlets in the Tomcat. So if you are using Tomcat, then whether you are writing in some other language does not matter, but eventually Tomcat will run only the servlets. So this thing is converted into servlets. But we don't need to know the servlets. That was the whole point for this Spring Boot or Spring, so that we don't need to learn about the servlets. Basic things we require, we'll cover that, those portion that is required, but otherwise we don't need to know about the servlets. Under the hood it will be taken care immediately. All right, so so one interview question now is, what's the difference between controller and what's the difference between a REST controller? So we have used the REST controller over here, right, at the health controller, right? So the greet controller, we are going to use the controller, right? Anyone aware of this REST controller? So similarly, the REST controller will be responsible to make the request mapping, right? To prepare the request mapping
Yes.
configuration. So controller will also be do the same work, right? So and request mapping I have to do over there as well, right? So over here as well, I will do the request mapping. Now let's say public and then string, right? And greet controller. Okay, my bad. Okay, let's, instead of covering this, okay, let's cover one thing, that let's not do this over here, just write here public string. What's the difference? Okay, the very first interview question, it's way too basic, right? If you are not a fresher, nobody is going to ask you this. What's the difference between request parameter and path parameter? This is completely basic question, right? If you are not a fresher, nobody is going to ask you this.
Request parameter means in the sense like we are filtering the data, like when ID is equal to 1, like like in the path itself, we'll pass the parameters, like it will automatically fetch the records based on the parameter value.
Okay, so over here, the status can be considered a, see, the request
Mhm.
parameter is which you send using the key value pair. It will be written after the question mark, right? So if over here I start to write name, right? Name
Yeah.
equals to Priya root. So this is key and this is key, this is value, right? So key value pair
Yeah.
that we send after our URL, and you will find a question mark as well, that is request parameter. It is separated by ampersand, right? This is the
Mhm.
separator for request parameter. It's a key value pair. So last name, I can have the last name, for example Gupta, right? So one key value pair and the next key value pair, right? So this is the request parameters, and this is would can be path parameter, right? For example, we can say I need one more data, that okay, she's there for matrimony or dating, right? So I can choose dating. If I want this data, this can be, I can get this data over here. I can get this, and this would be a part of
Uh,
path parameter, right?
uh, yes.
See, this is the domain name, right? So this thing, localhost 844, will be replaced by the company name, right? www.flipkart.com, and the rest will be the path, right, where I need to go, and then the key value pairs, that is the request parameter, the parameter that I need to pass. So this is the difference, right? Where we put, how to put, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to greet from the health controller itself, and then I'll change it. So okay, so greet, let's call them with greet only. And what I can do, I can return hello, only hello, right? And let's write, make them get mapping only. Cool. And map it with greet. All right, so if I run this again, and okay, health and greet, right? If I run health and greet, and if I run enter, then it's hello, right? But I'm not passing any path parameters, right? So if I
Yes.
send the name Priya, then also hello, right? So see, this is not a part of Spring Boot. This is a normal API, REST API thing. Whatever extra parameter that you try to pass, it will be ignored. There will be no error that will be thrown if you pass the extra data. All right. So now, because I'm getting extra data, but I'm not doing anything with it, right? So over here, the key is name and the value is Priya, right? So I can take it with the name, right? It's string. Why name? Because the key is name, right? So that's why same thing I will
Yes.
copy it over here, and cause it's a request parameter, I will use the request parameter value, right? And then directly I can just print name, hello, and name. If I rerun it again and now hit the same URL, hello Priya, right? And then
Yes.
it will be changed with the time, right? Now let's say that instead of Priya, I want to, okay, I want to know how much, I mean, I want to get the path parameter as well, right? It's good that I have the request parameter, but now I want to access the path parameter. And how can I access the path parameter? Let's say that, okay, so let's say that this Priya is here. I mean, this is a, I mean, what example can we take? Okay, so yes, there is a dating app Bumble. Over there, we can specifically mention whether we are here for dating or for finding friends or just to improve our networking, right? And what does it mean by networking? It simply means to try to use it as LinkedIn to get access, and so that we can get better with our with our okay, cool, with our career. All right. So let's say I need, sometimes I can pass the dating, right? Anu wants to date, or if I want to just being friends with someone, then I can write friend, or otherwise I can mention over network, right? And I want hello Anu. Hope you find. I mean, depending on the type of things, uh, which you look for your networking, which you look for your dating, or which you look for your friendship, right? So this thing I want, right? But if I run this, now I will get an error, right? Because this is a path parameter. With the health, I can go inside the health class. With the status, I'll be here, but it also says network, right? So where there is no network, right? In the path parameter, there is no mapping with the network. It's still status I'm here, but there is no mapping with for the network, right? So okay, greet post that there is no mapping, right, for the networking. But the thing is, if I use the network over here, if I use the network over here and try to run this now the thing is it will work, hello, right? But the thing is the network value, I cannot get the network value, right? If I change this to dating, then again error, right? So I cannot use this thing, right? So over here what I can do, I can make sure that this thing, this path parameter is treated as a variable. Okay, so I can just simply make, okay, shit, just give me 1 minute. All right, so we were okay, the path parameter, right? So over here I can take it as purpose, right? And now this is the purpose that I want for my greeting, right? I can, I mean, there can be, I mean, I might be using Bumble for dating, networking, or anything else, right? So I just need to print over here, right? So this is the path variable, right? So this is a path parameter, right? But how can I use it over here? Hello, then name, and then hope you do wonders with your, and then I need the value from here, right? So see, the thing is, like we have done with the request parameter, right? So there must be something with the path parameter as well, right? Path variable, cool. It is a string, right? And I can, if I write the purpose over here and then I can use it over here. Cool, visible? I'm audible? Hello?
Yes, Abhishek.
Okay, so now earlier it was giving error, right? Now if I try, then hello Anu, hope you do wonders with your dating, right? Now if I change it to networking, hello Anu, hope you do wonders with your networking, right? I can change the name as well, and the friendship for shaping, okay. Right, so the value, this is how we can fetch our path variable or path parameter or the request parameter. Cool, visible?
Yes, yes.
All right, so now the thing is, if I, what's the difference, the question again, what's the difference between @controller and @rest controller? Okay, no clue.
Yeah, path variable is like the we can say that server endpoint, like exact address where we can hit the API, and the request parameter is like
I'm
we
asking the
can filter
difference
the.
between rest controller and controller.
Okay. REST control is used to make a mapping, like we can. Based on the REST controller, we can do like get mapping, post mapping, and all.
Okay, so you are saying that if I use a controller over here, I cannot use get mapping. Greet. Okay, and return hello. You are saying that I cannot use get mapping over here, right? This is what you are saying. Okay, greet and then user we can say. All right. So get mapping I cannot use inside the controller. Is this what you are trying to say?
The difference is like with the REST controller, we can use get mapping and all. That is.
So I'm trying. If I try to use
Okay.
controller with get mapping, so it will not work. If I run this, so that's what you are saying, right? REST controller I can work with
Yes.
the get
Yeah,
mapping.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But right now,
Yeah.
if I try to use the greet and user, then I will get error, right?
Yes. Yes.
If I'll use simple greet and user, then I will get error. Why? See, this executed, right? Why error is here? It's a different thing, but the code has been executed, right? You can see it over here. The code has been executed, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's not like get mapping cannot be used with the controller. All right, so let me do some other thing. This thing we have seen how it works, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just cut it and paste it here, right? So greet I already had out at the top, right? So I can remove the greet, right? Cool. So it should work, right? If I use the greet and purpose. Am I audible?
Yes. Yes.
So now it should, okay, wait, it should work, right? If I use, okay, greet and purpose was, let's say, dating, and greet dating and name Anu, right? So it will work, right? It should work because over here request mapping is greet and purpose is here, right? Path variable purpose and the request parameter name. So greet and then purpose, so greet and then purpose and then name, key, and the value Anu, right? So it will work, right?
Yeah.
No, now it don't work. It's not going to work, and you will see the proper error over here. Now you will see the difference between this thing, right? And now what I mean over here, let me just show you the error first. कितना बड़ा दे दिया ये? Okay, okay, threads इतना बड़ा हो गया पूरा. Okay, cool, no worries. Let me just, okay, so let me just make a few change over here. If I write response body, okay, and now I rewrite, I'm doing nothing, I just written response body at the top, right? Nothing has changed. And now if I run the same code again, it's working, right?
Yes. Yes.
So the thing is, when you use controller, REST controller is SpringBoot. If I'm using REST controller, SpringBoot automatically considers everything that we are returning, it converts it into JSON and just return it back. Because this is the normal string, right? So it is returning the value. If I will try to send an object, it will convert that thing into the particular JSON. Okay.
Okay.
So that's the thing. So request controller is @controller plus by default @response body on every method. Okay, so now question arises, if the request controller is controller plus the response body on the every method, we haven't had to add any request response body over here, right? So the question arises, if it's not response body, so what is by default? I mean, if I'm not write this, so what will happen by default, right? So let me write another thing, public string, and then okay, greet, okay, greet is there, right? And then better greet, okay, yeah, I will change the name later on, better greet, cool. And over here I will say I can add the, see, there are multiple use cases, right? We can directly use get mapping as well. Over here I can use request mapping, okay, and over here I can mention that better greet. So this is the path variable that we have, path parameter that I have added, right? But if I want to make sure method, right, so method type I can add over here http, okay, let's check which class it's using. Okay, method request method, cool. So request method dot, and I can take the get http verb, right? So instead of this thing is equivalent to this, right? But in the later versions of the Spring, its get mapping is more popular, right? Nobody writes code in this manner, but I've just shown you that okay, this is all also you can write the code, all right, if you don't want to use the get mapping, post mapping, these things. All right, so if I want to return, let's say greet, okay, now what will happen? The first thing is response body is responsible to convert the data that I'm sending into the, to serialize it and return it as a response. But if I don't do this, then what happens, it try to find okay, let me just check, better greet, better greet, right? Okay, greet and better greet. Now check the error. Okay, first thing, okay, it's an exception resolver, required request parameter, okay, name, why name, greet, better greet, required greet, better greet, okay, does not make sense. Okay, Tomcat localhost, in this is greet, and this is better greet, then greet and better greet. So why it want anything request parameter name? Okay, not making sense. Let's try it again. Okay, delete it and try to run this. Okay, yes, yeah, now this is the proper error, right? Okay, required name, missing request parameter, how it can, no, let's add update over here. All right, let's hit this up. Yes, now what's happening, 844 greet and better greet and better greet. Okay, why no error here? Let's outside out hello. All right, see, hello is printed. Okay, but why no error? I need error. Okay, so error is being suppressed. The wrong thing over here is it don't, I mean there is an error, right? 404 not found. So there's okay, there needs to be, I mean the error is that it's trying to find a file name greet. That's the thing that it's trying to do over here, and it's not visible in the logs. So I think we need to make sure that its logs are opened. So for logs to be opened, okay, so one thing, but here it now, though it should have been visible over here. But if it is not, then okay, in the application dot properties, what we can do is simply wait, okay, implementing filters, app to event, and new, we can just add allow the loggings. Yeah, loggings we will allow of a Spring framework. Okay, so in the event, okay, not event, in use case we will update our property file for the logging and then run it again. Now it should be visible. Okay, cool, visible now. The error is my screen visible? Hello.
Yeah, Abhishek, yeah.
So now see what's the error now. The view name greet, and it's a part of model. The view name greet will not be visible over here, right? Get greet, better greet, I'm trying to execute, and we can see that it's trying to access view name greet, and it is taking the extension of it as HTML. Visible? It want HTML, greet.html it's seeking. So when I don't add anything, right, in the controller, so it by default tries to get a HTML, right?
Okay.
And there is no HTML in my code right now, so it will never going to find in the HTML, and that's why the error 404, right? Not found. What not found? This thing, where is this greet and then HTML it requires. So greet.html it's not able to find. So the thing is where it will find the greet.html, right? So now what I can simply do is make sure that inside the resources I can add in the static as well for a file greet.html, and okay, and default body should have been provided. HTML file I require, I want to name it greet. Okay, nice. Now the title greeting, and the body, let's just take h1 hello greetings. Cool. So now okay, in the static I have my this HTML, and in the greet controller, okay, let's if I try to run this now directly, then what will happen if okay, what conditional class, what's this? Okay, let me see auto configuration, bean name resolver on bean condition. Okay, no worries, we can skip it for now. And now if I run the same thing, is better greet, then again it's not taking this thing, right? It's still not finding it, right? So now the question is whether it's trying to search it from, is it trying to search it from the resources static folder, then only it will get the greet, right? So for that, what I can do, I can write the forward and then colon and then HTML. Okay. Directly greet will be fine, but I can write it in HTML package as well in static, because static can be any resource, right? So what I'm trying to do, I will add HTML here. HTML. Okay, my bad. I want a file, not okay, folder. I want a directory HTML. Inside this I will park my HTML, and now I will just write HTML in my forward path. This is my forward path, and I want to make sure when I write the forward it will go inside the resource package, and once I'm inside the resource package I want it to see first HTML. Why this forward slash? Because it's, I want to go it inside the HTML. Then why this? Because I want to go and check the greet, and then I need to use my .html. all right, the full extension. Okay, now if I run this, hello greeting site, it is taking from the resources static HTML. So if I change something here, hello greetings everyone, and okay, I have to reload the flow as well. Now if I reload this thing, everyone is here, right? It's taking from the HTML, right? So what's the difference between a REST controller and controller? Both.
Controller, everything takes in a JSON format.
Yes, REST controller follows the REST API
Yes.
procedures, right? So it does
Yes,
not
yes.
it does not, I mean, what is REST, what is API, right? API you will not get any view, right? View as in the front end code you never get whenever you hit the REST
Yeah.
APIs.
Yeah.
You get the data, and mostly in
Yes.
the JSON, right? You can make sure that it can, you can transfer the code in XML as well. But most accepted data transferring language or the data transferring object right now in the current industry is JSON, because mostly
Yes.
front end tech is in JavaScript framework, right? Whether it's
Yeah.
Express.js, React.js, or the Angular, everything is in the JavaScript, right? So if you send
Yeah.
the JSON object, so it's a JavaScript object notation object, right? So it's way too easy for the front end people to parse it and render. So that's why REST controller, whenever we are writing anything in the REST API or using the REST controller, the response is directly converted into the equivalent JSON values, right?
Yes.
And if it's not, if it's a normal controller, then it will try to find a view. It will think that you are trying to send some view, and to find some view, if you are trying, and if you don't want to send the views, you want to send the data, then you need to make sure that you have the response body written at the top of your method, right? Now the thing is, if I change the request parameter to post, okay, so it was get earlier, right? And now I made it post, and I just restarted it, right? So will the code work or not work if I run it again? I'm audible?
It will not work.
Yeah, it should work.
See, if I run, now there is an error. This is a post call, and I was
Yeah.
trying to see method not allowed, right? Which method not allowed? Get method not allowed. because when I hit some value from here, it will be always, if I hit anything from the browser and browser URL section, it will be always get. All right.
Yes.
So post, if my call is post, we cannot use get, right? All right.
Yeah.
Now if I revert the thing, this is instead of get mapping, if I convert it to post mapping, all right. And greet and update purpose. Okay, so localhost. Okay, let's just see whether it's working with the greet get mapping, right? First, then I will update to the post mapping. So greet, update, and then purpose, right? So localhost 8444, greet, update, and then dating, and then name equals to Anu, right? Hello Anu, hope you have a wonderful, I mean, with your dating and all. Now the same thing, I will make it post mapping. Okay, restarting it. So now if I try to hit it, will it work or not? Okay, you get the difference, right? Earlier it was a get call. If I try to hit the request post, I mean a request which is mapped to post, and if I try to access it using the get HTTP verb, then it does not work, right? We have seen this with this use case, right? But now we have changed the condition. We know that from the browser we can only hit the get mapping, right? Get HTTP verb we can hit with the browser. So, and this is the post mapping, right? So if I try to hit it, will it work or not? The answer is it's not working, right? Is this visible?
Okay.
See, it's a post mapping. I'm trying to access it with get, right?
Yeah.
And if I reverse the case, and both cases were same, right? What I have done over here and what I have done over here, both cases were same. I don't know why you were not able to guess it. All right, so I'm going to rerun this thing, right? So now I know that all right, this thing is a get call, right? Now I need to open the postman because I cannot send the post mapping from this. So in the post, okay, I can, okay, all right. So we can change, okay, duplicate we can add, and I would like to rename it and the post mapping test, and instead of 80 I want, okay, the same thing I can copy paste directly from here, right? Okay, if I hit it from here, it is working, right? Because it's a get call, right?
Yes.
So if I put it here, right, let me change it to get. So if I hit the get call, I'm getting the data, right?
Yes.
If I change it to post call, will it work or not?
No.
The answer is no. Right?
Method not.
Method not allowed. The only, but what's the difference? That it's a get mapping and I'm trying to access
Post.
with the post, right? But what if I change it to request mapping? Okay. And with the request mapping, I want my method, I want my method to be request method get. All right. So if I rerun this again, earlier it was get mapping, right? Now I have changed it, right? So let's check with the get. If I use the get mapping, right? And we can even change it, dating, we can change networking, right? So it's changed, right? So if I change to post, it's still not working, right? So if you have fixed your HTTP verb, then it is not, you cannot access it directly, right? Can I access it using some other thing, right? Like put, not allowed, right? And then patch, delete, okay, delete does not make sense. Patch, right? everything you will not find. And what error you will get? You'll get a simple error that it's not supporting, right? Request method not supporting, right? Patch is not supported. we were we were thinking, we were expecting get, right? Okay, it's get or post. We were expecting get. So if you will send the get, then it's completely fine. The get request came and it's complete 200, okay, right? And then if something else comes, post comes, then I will send the error. Method not allowed, you are getting over here already, right? So this thing you are getting. One thing that you need to know, that over here, who is, I mean, we'll see it later on, who is sending this error, right? This path method not allowed, this error handling, someone is providing us the error handling, right? We are
Yeah,
getting the
and yeah.
proper error handling. So the Spring is responsible to provide you this. We will dive deep into it later. And now what I can do, okay, so the thing is, over here you get the error 405, right? Method not allowed. If I'm sending this thing, then I'm getting the 200, right? Visible? HTTP code. Is this visible?
Yeah, yeah.
But what if, like for this example, 200 is there, right? But there might be a case that a particular that a particular uh, thing or response is not acceptable. Then what should I do? And also there might be a chance that I want to send some other HTTP response code instead of 200. Is it possible? Is it possible to send some different HTTP response code?
Yes.
Okay, it obviously it should be allowed, but how can I add it? Any idea?
No, I think from the code itself, we can, like on success, we can make some status code.
On successes, it's not a JavaScript, right? So I can even create, okay. So we were using void, right? I mean, is string, we were sending something, right, till now. So let's say that I have a void method updated HTTP response. All right. So over here, what I can do is simple the string I was creating. Okay, should I use this thing? Okay, let me just copy paste this or not. Okay, we can create a new one, right? We can response and greeting user, cool. This one should be with the response, right? So which can be, now this is the response that I want to send, right? Like I was sending this, okay. But now the thing is, I want, okay, new, I want to send a response entity object, and inside this I will send the response along with HTTP status. And over here okay, okay, why success is not there, right? 102 created, accepted, 200, okay, all right. So it's saying that 200 is okay, all right. And I need to make sure that I send this as well. Okay, my bad. Send this as well. And get mapping, I can do a get mapping over here. And if I do the get mapping, I can map it with status code, read status code, cool. So now if I'm using response entity object, if I'm returning the response entity object, do I need to write @ response body at the top or not? Okay, okay, you can try to deduct it, right? But the thing is, this response entity is something that Spring has provided, right? So let's test it out. Okay, so over here, okay, status code, for status code we need to be here, so we can simply just duplicate it, rename it, and status code check. And now I'll, okay, greet and status code, right? If I hit enter, greeting user, right? And 200, okay, cool. But if I come here and error, internal server error, right? So now I'm saying internal server error. So what's the error code of internal server error?
501.
Come again?
500 series.
Yes, 500 series, no? 500 is the internal server error.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm getting the result, but even with the perfect result, I can send this thing, right? So the thing is, if I, why I can, how I can send it, and why should I change the HTTP verb? If for example there is something wrong, right, then I can use this thing 401. I can use when the authentication fails. I can send 401 because the request is successful. So instead of sending 200, I can change it and make it 401, right? So there is 401. There will be somewhere down the road 401 unauthorized access. So if my user gets request, then I can send this. If the creation of this thing is bad, then I can send the bad request as well. For example, over here the purpose, right? The purpose, if it's not safe, if it's not networking, friendship, or dating, then I can send the error that please send the valid values for the purpose, and I can send the valid values ranges as well. So this is the thing with the controller, REST controller. And let's end our session today because Paramita is